Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are getting into one of H.P. Lovecraft's most, truly, disturbing tales. It's all about stolen identity, cosmic dread, and a horrifying secret that shows up, you guessed it, literally on the doorstep.
So the story kicks off with this absolutely bone-chilling confession. Right from the get-go, no messing around. We're just dropped right into the aftermath of this terrible act. A line like that just grabs you, right? It makes you think, whoa, wait a minute. What on earth could make someone do that?
And that is the central mystery here. The narrator, a guy named Daniel Upton, he swears he's not a murderer. The whole point of his confession is to try and convince everyone that the person or, the thing that he shot, it wasn't his friend anymore. Not the friend he knew, anyway.
Okay, so to even begin to understand that crazy opening, we've got to rewind. It all starts with a marriage that, let's be honest, was pretty much doomed from day one. So let's meet the people caught up in this whole mess.
So at the center of this whole thing, you've basically got this toxic triangle. First, there's our narrator, Daniel Upton. Then you've got his best friend, Edward Derby, super smart, a great poet, but also kind of weak-willed, And then there's Asenath Waite. She's Edward's new wife, she's from the creepy town of Innsmouth, and she seems to have this weird, almost hypnotic power over him.
And yeah, almost right after they get married, Edward just starts to change, and not in a good way. His whole personality starts to fall apart. Suddenly, he has these bizarre new skills, he's talking about all this dark occult stuff, and this is the real kicker, he becomes completely, utterly terrified of his own wife. It's clear he thinks she has some kind of unnatural hold on him.
So what started out as just a really strange marriage? Well, it quickly spins out of control into a total psychological breakdown. And what we find out is that the horror here is so much worse than just a bad relationship.
And you can really see how fast and tragic this whole thing is when you look at the timeline. He marries Asenath in 28, and then it's just downhill from there. This isn't just a case of him being unhappy. No, he's absolutely terrified. He even tells Upton that he thinks Asenath can somehow leave her body and take over his. By 1933, he's just completely broken.
This is a classic example of what we call body horror. But, Lovecraft's version isn't really about guts and gore. It's way more psychological. It's about that deep, primal fear of losing control of your own body, of being a passenger while someone else is driving. Can you imagine anything worse? It's like the ultimate violation.
And that's why, even though this story isn't as famous as, say, Cthulhu, a lot of fans absolutely love it. It's a real fan favorite. Like this one Reddit user says, it's one of his deeper cuts. And people love it for that really personal, really psychological horror.
Okay, and now we get to the really good part. The story's incredible twist. Seriously, everything you think you know about who the villain is, it's about to get flipped upside down. This is the moment that makes the whole story stick with you. So the whole time, Edward is terrified of his wife, Asenath. He thinks she's this powerful witch trying to steal his body. But the truth? Oh man, the truth is so much more complicated and honestly, way more tragic. The real question we should be asking isn't what is Asenath doing? It's who is Asenath? Or maybe even, what is Asenath?
So here it is. The big twist. The real bad guy was never Asenath at all. It was her father, Ephraim. Turns out he's this ancient sorcerer who figured out how to swap minds with people. And get this, years ago he stole his own daughter's body just to stay alive. So the Asenath that Edward married was just a shell, a vessel that Ephraim was using to find his next victim, which, of course, was Edward.
And this is what makes it so brilliant. Like this Reddit user, Mad Badger Films, says, it's such a great rug pull. It changes everything. Suddenly, Asenath isn't the monster anymore. She was actually his first victim. Just a terrified kid whose own father basically erased her soul just so he could live forever. How twisted is that?
And this is where the title, The Thing on the Doorstep, finally clicks into place. It all comes down to the story's horrifying ending. Ephraim has seemingly won. He's in Edward's body, but then this grotesque, rotting thing shows up on Upton's doorstep. It's Edward's corpse, somehow moving, with just enough of his soul left inside to warn his friend and beg him to kill the monster that's now walking around in his body.
Man, what a story, right?
so deeply unsettling. So the question is, how does it hold up today? Well, even though critics weren't always kind to it, its central ideas have been huge, especially for people making movies.
It's actually pretty fascinating. There's this huge split between how critics and fans see the story. For a long time, a lot of critics just kind of wrote it off as one of Lovecraft's lesser stories. But then you talk to the fans, and they'll tell you it's one of the ones that stuck with them the most, that it hit them on a really emotional level.
And I think that emotional punch is why it keeps getting adapted for the screen. There's the recent horror movie Suitable Flesh, for example, which puts a cool spin on it with a gender-swapped cast. But you also see things like no-budget indie films tackling it. It just goes to show you that the core idea is so strong that it inspires all kinds of creators. And when you really think about it, this story, even though it was written almost 100 years ago, feels incredibly relevant right now. It gets at that fundamental fear of losing control, of having someone or something steal who you are. In our world of deep fakes and digital identities, you have to wonder, is that fear more real now than ever? How safe is your own identity, really? And what kind of horrors might be knocking on your door?